hope everybody's having a wonderful day. It has been the coldest week in a long time for around here. Everything's froze up. The loggers went crazy. We're 1,050,000 feet right now in the yard. So, woo! We've got a log yard full and we can't afford it. This week, let's see, Monday morning it's Saturday and they're out bringing the last of the wood in off this job that we're on up the crane. And I'm trying to make a little room in the yard where they get in here this evening. I need to be making cross ties right now. Cross ties are looking good. I'm starting to get my system together. We are starting to sell the blocks cheap, and I'm bucking them off in 2-foot chunks or shorter. So anybody that's local, that's watching loggerwade.com here right now, come get your daggone firewood blocks. They're cheap. I think she got her down to 30 bucks a pickup load. And if you bring a big trailer or something behind your pickup, hell, I'll load you. She got a little different price for a trailer load, I think. I don't know what it is, but the pickup load's 30 bucks a piece. My mini's messed up right now on my thumb switch. On my roller thumb switch to make my thumb work. So I got it in the shop working on it. Eli, I'm using the old J loader. Eli's loader has the rear end's got I think the pinion bearing screwed up going into the quill there, quill housing. I'm gonna sort this last run, that'll be the end of it. Them guys can fill it up and I'll go fix my then get back on ties. And then we need to figure out how to get them sold. But they say, it's like that guy in that field of dreams or whatever, you know, you build it, they'll come. Well, hopefully if we saw it, they'll take it. If not, we'll be putting them bundles of cans down there at them tie block piles. You can come get them cans too. Oh, dear Lord. That is a heck of a way to look at things. But no, it's been, so Monday, we come in Monday, and poplar. Come in Monday, did some brain work, me and the guys did Monday morning. And had a few things figured out. I did a bunch of math at the computer and stuff, figured some things out. And then we worked in the shop on that grinder. Found out we can't run tie blocks through that Bandit. Or at least we don't think, because we screwed up the auger bearings. But we also had a bearing messed up on the deck chain feeding in. So we don't know yet. We'll have to see. But we're not going to be running tie blocks through it anytime soon to find out. So hopefully we'll get these tie blocks out of here and people come pick them up, get them out of our hair. Because that was a pickle. Them auger bearings underneath that Bandit grinder ain't worth the hoot. I don't know why they made them. I'm not an engineer, but geez, my knees. Screw them auger bearings. And they're setting up there, they got these augers mounted underneath this chain. Anything goes wrong, and it will, you got this great big old head with all that horsepower behind it and all that stuff, and that deck chain and everything else just beating on them poor little bearing hangers. They just can't hold up. I think it's a design flaw, but that's just my opinion. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. So they may know something more about it than what I do. So, but I will say this, it can't do tie blocks. I don't think. We'll have to see. Now I'm gonna break in here and tell y'all this about this time I was doing this video here that I got going on. First part of January and stuff, we got full of logs towards the end of the year, and then you pay for all your crap at the end of the year, and we have a week of vacation, so it gets our cash real tight every year. But this year's been a crappy year on top of that. And then we got our cash tight at the end of the year, and then we had this frozen week, the second week of January, where we couldn't saw crap. Those of you up north that's used to cold weather,
you know, you'll have your mills inside the building and stuff like that, and heat climate controlled, and you can handle winter better. Down here in southern Indiana, the way we are down here is everybody gets accustomed to mild weather. We have mild weather when, you know, in most of the year it's just great weather. We leave our mills outside. That's just part of how we do it down here for the most part. You just our mills are kind of open to the climate, well, if you get a cold snap like this, usually 1 or 2 weeks a year that we get hammered with too cold of weather to operate properly, and that's getting you down in the single digits and stuff like that. And we got down there, and man, you talk about aggravating. Nothing would run right. Everything was crapped up, and we couldn't get no production out. So right here, you're down here where you need to be pounding out the wood to keep the cash machine running, and here we are stuck. And then the loggers, it ground froze up, and those of them that didn't have, boy, a lot. We had one of the loggers had he thinks he's got water down his motor and froze, bumped it over and screwed up. Probably bent a push rod or something on a lifter, you know, been a lifter push rod, you know. And we've done that. I told him, man, we've done that. I know twice we've done that on our skidders. You know, the way the John Deere skidder exhaust goes up, you know, on these old G3s and stuff, you could do that, and G2s and Gs and maybe the E's and stuff. But we had some of that go on. Some of them couldn't get their stuff started because these Deere's got 12-volt systems in them. You know, you don't have the 24-volt. They got cold enough that they're not prepped. You know, it's hard for us in our area to be prepped for the 12-volt system, to be prepped for the cold weather versus a 24. You know, so all them things. But anyways, a lot of the loggers did get their stuff going, and they pounded the logs in during this cold week. And it's like, man, our vendors are already aggravated at us because we're not getting stuff paid up into current right now and stuff, and everything's just sucking right now. So right now when I was doing this video, which I kind of fell off the map, those of you noticed fell off the radar there at the end of January, and it's because, I mean, like, everything sucked. Didn't want to talk about it. Everything sucked, you know. But now we're digging out. Things are looking, not, I wouldn't necessarily say way up, but it's looking better. It's definitely looking better. At this point, second week in February, moving on, things are getting better. Things are moving a little bit. I don't know about the industry. They're still depressed as a whole. This deglobalization, decoupling, and I'm sure the Ukraine war plays a lot into it. And just a lot of factors is pulling into constricting everything right now. And, of course, the high interest rates and stuff like that is killing new homes and stuff like that, and it's just everything's seizing up, and it's not and there's ways to get through it, but it's not an accident. We have to play our cards right now and just be nitty daggone gritty. We're in the trenches and we're getting after it. A lot of the stuff I ain't sharing because I feel like right now I'm not in a great mood to share right now. Not to take away from some of you that wants to see what's going on right now, but I think things are going to look up. I think things are getting a little better. I'm reluctantly saying that, not with a lot of confidence. It's going to start thawing out Monday. It's going to get up in the 40s. It's going to at least reach 40 Monday, and we'll start thawing this thing. And Monday night's not getting down to freezing here, so we'll start thawing some stuff, and then we're getting rain coming. Heck, there's one day it's going to reach almost 60 next week. That's just nuts. Make it. No, get up there. Get up there. All right, I'm not a real good loader up here, so we'll see here. We'll see if we can make this work. There, went up there. Alright, I got stuck in the log yard for a while. The first round come in, I unloaded them and then sorted a few loads so Eli wasn't in a mess Monday. But here I wanted to show y'all real quick. It's nasty. Oh, it's going to get nasty next week. Fallout's coming. So here's how I'm doing my ties. It's getting better. I roll a bundle out with the den, the mini den, grade it, stack it,
Bandit in the bunk, stage them here. So here'll be a load. And these are not cut yet, see? So there's a load of rough ties. It's all even ended to where they need to be and graded and sorted. But once I get this full, this is my queue. Once I get my queue full, then I come over here and lob them all off. And this pile of chunks will keep growing. We'll finally have to do something with that pile of chunks. The grinder's in the shop right now. The bearings busted out of it. Me and Perry and Mikey fixed about half of them. We got, I think 2 more full shafts, 2.5 shafts to go yet to get the bearings all fixed on them silly augers underneath that Bandit. But my gosh, it's gonna get nasty. The ground is about cooked, and we need it. I hate to upset the loggers, but I've been doing a rain dance because we are getting pounded with wood. Howdy guys, I wanted to talk to you today about this grinder. Well, it's really more than that. What I want to talk to you about is I made a mistake years ago. I accept full responsibility for it. We bought this grinder brand new. First of all, a mistake made is buying it brand new. A lot of equipment you buy just used, but we didn't know no better. We was scared, so we thought we went. You know, if you don't know much about something and you choose to go with something with name brand, usually you're doing the right thing. In this case, I don't know that we did. This grinder served us good over the years, but there is some things with it I wanted to share with y'all. And I'm not trying to pick on Bandit. It does a good grinding job, so I'm not trying to pick on this machine company or say any negativity in that manner. But there is a few things that I wanted to share with y'all. When you're looking into buying something, I've been around machinery a long time, and I'm not saying that I know all the stuff. I ain't trying to say that, but I know I'm not stupid either. Back in the day, I probably made this decision with me and Big Daddy. I probably wasn't 21, 22 years old. Way too young to make a call like that. But if you are young and you are gonna make a call on a machine, I'm gonna show you some things you need to keep in your mind. Just because somebody did it, don't make it right. So you need to think for yourself. This grinder, it has a wheel here that does the grinding, and it grinds down. Now I've done this, let me jump in there. I've done this doing these tie blocks. This grinder should eat tie blocks just fine. Well, it didn't, mostly because of lack of maintenance. But let me tell you why you had to do so much maintenance. This wheel feeds down. This bearing is the bearing that runs the chain in. That bearing is underslung. Why? You got a wheel pounding down on a pillow block bearing, you don't undersling it. That bearing, this pillow block, is upside down. This needs to be here. So the grinder's mashing down on it. Now they made it like this so it could pull apart with this thing. I get it, because they made this thing where the snout slides out. I get that. But in doing so, these bolts are taking all the hammer, where the pillow block itself had it put on, like say this is an anvil. If it was put on that, you know, that's, I don't know how to explain it in good engineering terms, but that's bad. Okay. Another thing they done is they got these augers that sit under this chain that feeds. I always figured it was a ploy to get more moving parts, but them augers, they feed the material up. Auger bearings also underslung. So what happened is, through our fault, not anybody else's, but through our fault, we let the bolts get loose, bearings fell down, chain fell down on the augers. Throw tie blocks in there, what do you think happened? The augers mashed down, busted these pillow blocks, and now we had to crawl in there, which sucks because they're mechanically a bad design, really. And I'm sure Bandit's probably changed it now, you know. It's probably, this was an older machine, you know, and I'm sure the Bandit's changed it by now. And I don't blame Bandit for doing it. They was just doing the best they could. I blame us for buying the daggone thing. You know, the least amount of moving parts, you know, intelligent design with the least amount of moving parts can gain you a lot of momentum. It helps you do a lot of things correct, you know. So I just don't buy into that, you know. And I've learned that lesson the hard way. That's why I'm making this video, to share with somebody that hasn't went through them problems yet, and maybe there's a chance he can be saved. I'll show you how these bearings turned out if I can find one. There's another thing. Now, the Bandit makes very good product, and I think that's what keeps them selling good. Their options on product is very good. And we make quality mulch here, so I don't know that we can do it with anything but a Bandit, you know, if you see what I'm getting at. But they have chintzy parts in it, and they go through a lot of chintzy parts when you do primary breakdown with the Bandit. I don't know if it's a good idea to do primary breakdown with the Bandit, just saying. I'm not sure. I'm no Einstein, so I'm not gonna say for sure. But a finished product, Bandit makes a daggone good finished product. I will give it that. So Final Grind, if you're a big mulch company, I would highly recommend Final Grind with the Bandit, because I think they make a beautiful product and they give you many options to get your product exactly right. But primary breakdown, not their cup of tea. I'll show you what happened under here. So these augers, if you can see it, hang on, get you all around here. You can see these augers is cantilevered the way they're mounted in here, and that chain just runs there like a serpentine. To run these augers, you got a left and a right and left and a right and left and a right, and that's how they just wiggle through there. Very complex, all these grease hoses. I mean, there's a lot of money in that. And the only thing it does is, I don't know why. You know, I don't know why, you know, and I didn't at the time, you know, or well, I don't know. Don't know if there's anything got to be done about it, but I know other grinders don't have augers and they get along just fine. But what happened is when it busted it busted the caps off all them bearings. They just, when the chain fell down on them and screwed them up. And the only way I figured it out, the chain stopped turning. I was like, what? And the augers have stopped. So I backed the chain up and the augers went back to going. And then the only way I figured out for sure is these grease hoses was hanging down on the floor. And I was like, what the heck is going on under there? And I crawled under there. Oh my gosh. Pandemonium. Oh, the humanity. All right, I'm gonna get to work.
Critical chain. Just to give some words about it. Don't want to talk about it too much because that's not the subject here. Critical chain, the name comes from the fact that everybody is using critical path. Critical path is the longest path in the project structure that determines the return of the project. Here we have introduced a huge distortion. Because if you read the original work of the people who invented critical path, they defined it as the longest path of dependent tasks. So we have to go back to the original intention. The original intention is not anymore a path through the project structure, because the resources can work in different places. So I call it critical path analysis. You will not notice that it stems from the facts that we didn't have all the data. You simply take it as a fact. More than that, if you don't go through the rigorous way of defining precisely the problem and then building the solution, you will not find a new rule, because a new rule is not one statement. It is a whole procedure that has to be thought out very carefully. Now, what I would like to do is to move to the next part of our supply chain. The one that is relatively easy, probably the easiest to implement. It was the hardest to find the solution. Let me show you in a minute why. Okay? And what I'm talking about now is the solution. You remember the original management conflict? Now, manage well, in order to manage well, you have to reduce costs from one hand side, but you also have to protect sales from the other side. Now, in this environment, the solution what is number one factor in cost? It is a amount of inventory held. cells I have. It's a small, tiny conflict. Once again, what we are trying to do is to optimize and optimize and optimize, and it never works. This was the hardest to solve, simply because we have.
This was the following week when I got this together. The bearings showed up. There was 2-inch bearing pillow blocks. There's weird made pillow blocks. They don't have feet on them. So we didn't have one around sitting in. And these was 2-inch bearings. We got a lot of inch and 15, 16 shafts on the place, but not a lot of 2-inch. That's kind of an odd size for us. I'm sure a standard size for the rest of the world. But we got them put together. I just want to share a little bit of this, show how aggravating this was and why I was being so whiny about it. Kind of aggravating project to do to you know, it's just cause and effect, you know. The chain falls down, and the conveyor chain fell down because the bearings got loose on the big bearings, and then they chain set down on top of the augers and then caused all this crap to happen. So it's just it's aggravating, and it's at a time where we're wanting to clam up pretty tight on the spending, you know, and get through this season, get the money freed back up and get it moving again, and pretty good. And then but no, we're gonna have to spend money on this crap. And we have some worm gearboxes on the debarker acting up, and on the debarker bull rose. And just so y'all know, I hate worm gearboxes. I love Planetary. I like them Sumitomo cyclone drives, cyclone drives, that type of thing. But I hate these daggone worm gearboxes. A lot of these companies put these worm gearboxes in because they're cheap, easy to get going, and they're temporary mindset, you know. But I hate the daggone things. I just seem spend the extra money and forget. You know when you got a good gearbox on something, because you forget to fill it up with oil because you forget it's there. That's when you know you got a good gearbox. No, these worm gearboxes, you remember them like as you never forget them because they can't take the shock load. They got brass gears in them and they just suck, you know. But that's just kind of sharing a little bit of this, you know, as I come through here. I'll show you. We got the project here finished here, and we're grinding now today, and everything's going good now. But I'll show you how this thing ended up right quick.
You will accept your order. Canada. Anywhere in the country. And then it depends where you are. If it's Chicago, it's 11 days and it's coming, it's parked in your house. If it is Los Angeles, it's 9 days. This is where we have to realize that we are dealing here with human-based organizations. And number one, in terms of impacts, myself when I said, of the law statement, war not lasted for long due to Professor Kaplan and Johnson. But this is only my opinion. Even like he came with a brief that mainly on some measurements that he didn't do correctly. So more than 5 measurements is conceptually wrong. And it's a balance scorecard I see already almost 20. What do you do? Your experience.
All right, I got it done. Boy, you talk about aggravating the chain was. Grease fittings on, got the chain put back together, I think, and I only tightened up the bottom set screws and the bottom bearings because there's like a shoulder that the augers push against the bearing. So, I mean, if you back up and look at it, I mean, it's a pretty... Guys, we're in the file room for a little bit this morning. Rick and Ball, I'm trying to cover for him a little bit. We got behind on the bands. I got one done yesterday evening, and I'm about to get this one done now. But we're getting down to the ones that had the cracks, and I did that video a couple weeks ago or a week ago or something like that, and some of you commented, there's a few comments on there that said, hey, I want to see it welded. So all right, so here we are welding the band. I don't have any missing teeth this week, but we do got a crack. We use a TIG, and the gas is full argon on this. It's a good TIG. We've had it since the 90s. We've had this TIG welder. And then we got torch and stuff for heating and things like that.
First things first, you put it in this heating block doodad and turn the electricity on and heat it up. So that's step one. I've been waiting for this to heat up, and my patience, those of you who don't know me, my patience are I don't have much in the form of patience. But we'll let this cook and heat up for a little bit. Once it gets everything warm, we'll take our old gas pedal and our TIG torch and weld her up. Of course, about 2 seconds later, somebody comes in and I get sidetracked, pulled off, had to go to the log yard and do some stuff, and then Rickenball showed up and then he took over from there. Oscar's got a problem with his leg right now. He's trying to get his leg fixed or whatever, and I've been trying to help Rickenball a little bit, fill in, and just the wintertime, when it gets cold like that in the wintertime, it's hard on everybody. We work outside, so it's hard on everybody. Winter is, and you lose people a lot through January as far as off time, getting sick, getting doctoring up and stuff like that. So you kind of limp through January and February, and then we get to March and stuff. Weather starts changing, things get a little better, and things start rolling a little smoother. You know, we're really getting into a situation where flow is becoming important because the loggers are doing really good. The gate loggers bringing logs in is doing really good, and it's putting extra pressure on us to get the wood pushed through in an environment where they don't want wood right now. So it's kind of putting a little pressure on. There'll be a better day coming, but it is putting some pressure on us right now to try to get this stuff moved and keep things. And I love loggers. I'm sorry. I care about what they do. I've spent my whole career logging up to this point. And when the weather's time and it's time to make hay, I'm telling you, first thing that aggravates a logger is stopping the flow. You know, it's the time they can make their money and bring their money in. And I don't want to be the daggone bottleneck in their cash flow, you know. And I'm not choosing very many loggers. We're just dealing with a few of the friends and stuff, that's local friends, and that's trustworthy, that don't push us on price on everything and keep us daggone on our toes and try to break the company, you know. But there's a lot of good loggers out there that just wants a good sawmill they can trust and do business with, that knows it cares about them. And a logger like that's going to go a long ways in our company. We got a few of them in the neighborhood, and I'm not going to be the one that holds them back. I want to build a team to where we help each other grow and succeed. You know, there's some people out there that's pushing things to the daggone stoppers, and at the way Gold Rat. A lot of his rules of flow and stuff like that, it's real good. Gold Rat, what the heck's his first name? Put his name up there, Tater. But in an industry, you got multiple people that deals with, so like in our industry chain, we have, you know, you got your landowners selling to the loggers, and some or the sawmill. In our case, sometimes we buy a lot of timber on the stump. So you got to move from the landowner, the logger, the sawmill, to the lumber company. Lumber company's got to sell it to the industry. Industry's got to manufacture and process it, and that's got to be sold to the end consumer. So the problem in your supply chain is if the next person down the line ain't sold, then you ain't sold. Just because you're cramming wood down somebody's throat and you're squeezing them for price and cramming it down their throat and playing games and sneaky cheating and all that stuff to get the wood moved, you still ain't sold because it's going to back up. And what you end up, you know, with John Rockefeller and what they done with Standard Oil, you know, there's a lot of dirtiness to that, and there was undermining. You know, it was back when capitalism was running nuts, when Standard Oil was going, before they broke them up into all the sub companies. But what they did get figured out was Rockefeller was real big on accounting. John Rockefeller was an accounting nut. This dude was an accounting nut. And what he did figure out is the flow of the supply chain. If you screw up, what do they call that? Tragedy of the commons. So you get tragedy of the commons because, you know, one guy is going to sell to the next guy down the road, and if his screwed up mentality is, I'm going to try to cram every penny out of that guy I can and cram all the stuff down his throat I can, you know, so I can get by with it. Problem is that causes supply chain errors in the industry as a whole. It's like when you're the guy driving down the road, and we all do it. You get in traffic, okay? So you're sitting there in traffic, and you see a hoe, and you get used to jumping lanes, dodging for hoe to see, when an on-ramp's coming. When there's an on-ramp coming, traffic's backed up, there's an on-ramp coming, there's going to be a flood of traffic coming on the road. So get over in the hammer lane, run a while you pass up all the people merging, and then after the flow starts moving up to speed and you get up to the next off-ramp, there's going to be a hole there. So you jump over in the other lane, you lane shop. So you jump over in the other lane, and then before their on-ramp comes on, you jump back over in the fast lane, and all this lane shopping that's going on slows the overall flow of traffic. All right? If you're slick about it, smart about it, it helps you get ahead, but it screws everybody behind you. Same way in the supply chain. So it's kind of like a tragedy of the commons, and some loggers are smart about it, and some sawmills are smart about it, and then you got the ones that are the predators. You got your predatory loggers and your predatory sawmillers, and then them and fishing them out and figuring out how to work with them to where you kind of, you try not to work with them too much. You try to work with, there's good landowners out there that knows they can get good money for their timber, and a lot of times they'll pick somebody they can trust and deal with them, and always check yourself and make sure that they're doing good overall as a market. But if every landowner squeezes every penny out of every logger, and every logger squeezes every penny out of every sawmill, and then every sawmill squeezes every penny out of every lumber company, by the time you get all said and done, the whole market's screwed up from asshole to appetite. You know what I mean? You're wondering what is all this crap going on? Well, everybody's turned into predatory, stuff. And then everybody's got to, and not whining about it, because everybody's got to do a little bit of the game to get ahead. But there's a within reason, and there's a greed factor in there too. So you got to watch everything as a whole. You kind of watch everything, and and we've got some good loggers in our part of the country. We've got some good loggers that are good to deal with, and good people. And by golly, they're out there dealing with the weather, and I'm not going to screw them over. I'm not going to be the one that screws them over. Well, when you factor all that in, right now it's not a good time when you're sitting full of inventory. The weather's got you screwed to where you can't saw, and the lumber companies don't want lumber right now. I mean, the industry calls the John Q. Public don't want nothing in the wood sector right now, and the government's got a climate for spending due to interest rates that's clogging things up on behalf of inflation. I know they're trying to curb the inflation, but there is some hiccups there, and trying to work around them hiccups is what we're trying to do, and still take care of the loggers we care for there. So it is kind of a tight time right now, but it's starting to look up a little bit. I think this spring things will come around just a little bit, hopefully. But thanks everybody for watching. Sorry this video is crazy. Next video I'm gonna be getting into some. I finally got put the my 592 or my 592 XP Husky. I finally got that bad boy going. Y'all need to come up with a name for it. I don't know if it's going to be pertaining to pudding of some sort. So y'all help me name my new saw, because I am in love with the 592 Husky. I'm telling you right now. And I think you all's going to love it too. And also we had a kingpin come out of a trailer in the middle of the highway. And me had to go down one night and retrieve and then load lumber and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So I got that on video too coming up. So thank y'all for watching. Everybody have a good one, and later on.